Hey everyone, and welcome. So, big news on the tax front. In 2025, India is rolling out a brand new Income Tax Act, and it officially goes live on April 1st, 2026. Now, that means new rules, new sections, and yeah, a whole new set of forms. But this massive change has created one, well, equally massive question.
And that's the big question, right? A new law kicks off on a specific day, but all the compliance deadlines are scattered throughout the year. So when do you actually stop using the old forms and switch to the new ones? Does everything just flip overnight on April 1st? Well, that's what we're going to clear up right now.
The good news is there's a really simple principle that cuts through all that noise. Once you get this one core idea, I promise, the entire timeline for this whole transition is going to make perfect sense.
And here it is, we're calling it the Golden Rule. Seriously, if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. It's not about when the tax year starts, it's all about when you are actually doing the work, the date of the compliance activity itself. That's what decides which form you use.
Okay, first things first, let's make sure we're all on the same page. When we're talking about this first year under the new act, we mean the tax year 2026-27. That's the period from April 2026 all the way to March 2027. Everything we discuss is going to be based on this specific time frame.
So to use our golden rule, you've got to split every single compliance task into one of two buckets. It's either something you do during the tax year or something you do after the tax year has already ended. Trust me, this little distinction, it's everything.
All right, so let's tackle that first bucket. What are the things that actually happen between April 2026 and March 2027? Because these are the changes you're going to feel right away.
Check this out. The new act kicks off in April 2026. But look, barely a few months later, bam! By July 2026, you've already got your first major deadline, that first quarterly TDS return for the April to June period.
So this is the light bulb moment, right? TDS returns are a classic during-the-year compliance. The actual act of filing that return happens inside the tax year itself, and that means it falls under the new rules right from the get-go.
And in the real world, here's what that looks like. You know those old forms we've been using forever, 24Q for salary and 26Q for other payments? Well, they're out. The new kids on the block are Form 138 and Form 140. Okay, pop quiz. Think about that very first quarter, April to June 2026. For your non-salary TDS return, which form are you going to file? The old 26Q or the shiny new Form 140?
Yep, you got it. You'll be filing the new Form 140. Absolutely. Because the compliance activity, the filing itself, is happening in July 2026, it's under the new act. There's no grace period here. This change hits the ground running.
Okay, so that's bucket number one. Now, let's talk about bucket number two. What about those huge compliance tasks that are for the same tax year, but you don't actually file them until much, much later?
So we're looking at the exact same tax year, 26-27, but notice where the action is now. The year wraps up on March 31st, 2027, but your ITR filing, your tax audit report, that's not till months later, deep into the summer and fall of 2027.
And that, right there, makes them classic after-the-year compliances. The work is about the 2026-27 period for sure, but the actual filing, well, that's happening way down the road in 2027. And that changes everything.
Let's take tax audits. If you're an accountant, you live and breathe Forms 3CA, 3CD, and 3CD. Well, get ready, because under the new act, they're all getting rolled into one new form, Form 26. But here's the kicker. You won't even touch this new form in 2026.
This is probably the best way to think about it. You know your Form 16, right? Your salary certificate? It's getting a new name, Form 130. But please, don't walk into your HR office on April 1st, 2026 and ask for it. They'll just look at you funny. Why? Because you only need it when it's time to file your ITR, which isn't until the middle of 2027.
So let's really nail this down. Thinking about the tax audit for that 2026-27 year, when do you think you'll actually use that new Form 26 for the very first time?
And the answer is mid to late 2027. Simple as that. Even though the audit is for the period starting way back in April 2026, it's all about that compliance date. And since that's in 2027, that's when you use the new form. All right, so we've looked at the during the year stuff and the after the year stuff. Let's pull back and look at the whole picture. What are the key things that are actually changing and what's staying the same?
So here's the bottom line. The stuff that's changing is mostly on the surface. New form numbers, new section numbers in the law, new codes on your returns. But, and this is super important, what's not changing is the deep stuff, the core tax ideas, the actual TDS rates and thresholds, and the tools you use, like the traces utility. All of that is staying the same. The engine of the car is the same. We've just given it a new dashboard.
And before we wrap, here's a huge pro tip for anyone who's actually going to be filing these new TDS forms. The new section and table numbers, they're a mess. Honestly, trying to memorize them is a waste of time. So don't. Instead, just focus on what you already know, the nature of payment. Just select Contract or Professional Service and let the system do the heavy lifting of populating the correct new codes for you.
And that just brings us right back to our golden rule, doesn't it? If there's one thing, and I mean one thing, you take away from all this, let it be this. Forget the tax year start date. It doesn't matter. Just ask yourself one simple question. What is the date I'm actually doing this filing? That date tells you everything you need to know. It's the key that unlocks this whole transition. Thanks for tuning in.